introduce my line of work as an ER doc, the most common thing people say is, she saves lives. And I feel like I have to be honest with you at this point. Sometimes I feel like the only life I've really meaningfully managed to save is my own. Because my work has taught me all of us hide behind our deepest pains. We carry things that feel impossible to let go of. So now that I've given you that disclaimer, I am here today to share part of my own story, also to present some of the challenges we face in the ER. Then at the end, I will boldly suggest that reducing private violence can reduce societal violence. So there are many jokes amongst doctors where we stereotype different specialists. One of them goes like this: how do you know if you're at a party with an ER doc? Anybody know the answer? Well, they'll just tell you, because like it's pretty much the only party trick I've got left. It's the one I just used right now, because it's an identity that I like to hang my hat on. That it's one that's like strength, power, because the identity that I've worked my whole life to conceal and actually never said publicly is that I am a survivor of childhood sexual assault. Now, I don't want to cause flashbacks for anybody here in this room, because I know personally that many of you have been through something. But the abridged version of my story of intergenerational family trauma goes something like this. My paternal grandfather, he was a World War II veteran. My maternal grandfather was in the Scottish Black Watch Infantry. They both experienced a lot of violence outside and inside the home. Both of my parents experienced violence in the home. They were both assaulted as children. So my very first memory of my parents was when my dad threw a glass jar at my mom. And this happened after she tried to escape him. We actually left just steps from here at Union Station. We went all the way across Canada to Edmonton, Alberta. But when we got there, we had nowhere to live. So the place we were supposed to stay was occupied. My mom, being clever, she negotiated a camp out in the backyard. We pawned her wedding ring, bought a king-size sleeping bag and a tent at a Canadian Tire store. Then we pitched it in a snowy Alberta April. And if you have never been to Edmonton at that time, it's kind of just like February in disguise. So, the neighbors went, they called child services. From there, my sister and I ended up in foster care. So as an adult, I went and retrieved my foster care records. I learned that my father assaulted my mother the same night that we went into foster care. As well, I had given a video testimony to the police that my dad had assaulted me. Now, I stand here today as a mother of 2 daughters in a loving marriage to tell you that the kids can be okay. The world can get better. But we all know the path forward, it's not an easy one. So as a humanitarian doctor and somebody who has worked for 15 years in frontline ER, I have witnessed the aftermath of every imaginable type of intimate partner, domestic violence, and sexual assault scenario. Survivors are 3 times more likely to come to the ER than see their family doctor, because you don't need an appointment, we're always open. And the other thing is, people are unlikely to recognize you, and the person who committed that violence, they want people to do that too, because people are unlikely to see the same doctor twice or find an ally. 44% of women murdered by their intimate partner had a visit to the ER within 2 years of the homicide, and the majority of them had presented with an injury. This represents an opportunity for us to intervene, an opportunity to save lives. We are only detecting about 5% of intimate partner violence cases in the ER. So just take that in. We are missing 95% of intimate partner violence cases according to most studies. Most survivors said if healthcare personnel had asked, they would have disclosed. So it's very easy to get cynical, to lose hope, but there are advocates and physicians, and we are working towards lowering the threshold for screening. So what does that look like? Well, we're learning that when somebody is coming, days after the injury, or they have certain patterns of injuries, maybe they have wounds at multiple stages of healing, that we need to ask, We're also starting to see the story beneath the presentation. So if people are having recurrent mental health crises, substance use, or unexplained symptoms, we're starting to know that this is the time that we need to flag this could be intimate partner violence. But we have to be honest about challenges we're facing in our current system. So I want you to picture two patients, okay? A 17-year-old girl, first boyfriend, he slaps her in the face on a Friday night. The force of it is so hard it ruptures her inner eardrum, so she registers as decreased hearing. A 20-year-old male, he is raped at a party on a Saturday night, also comes into the ER. Now this is our busiest intake time. If you can imagine, we're often short-staffed, so the nurses there, they may have been working like 11, 12 hours, registered hundreds of people. They are doing their best, but they're exhausted. So these people who have experienced violence, maybe for the first time, they sit down in a crowded waiting room. There could be up to 50 people. They're sandwiched in between, strangers, physically uncomfortable, shock, disbelief. It's easy to imagine why a healthcare provider may not ask and why a survivor may not disclose. At a recent 4 a.m. shift when I arrived, these were examples of two patients who left without a physician seeing them. Maybe this was your friend, sibling, your child. Maybe this was you. On behalf of all healthcare providers, I want to apologize because you deserve better. So what can we do? One solution is we can flag people immediately when they register. So we already do this for certain populations like our geriatric populations in the ER. They're immediately candidates for a very robust provincial-wide program that's been running for 10 years. For people with substances, we have peer support initiatives, rapid follow-up clinics. What does this do? It connects people to peers who are in recovery and remission. It decreases the stigma that they feel, and it increases the empathy in the care that they receive. We really need essential services like this for people who are seeking refuge from violence. Now, beyond the healthcare system, after 15 years of seeing the aftermath of violence and coaching survivors to reclaim their joy after complex trauma, what I know is possible is just less people who are experiencing violence. So encouraging work is being done by experts right here in Canada. An innovator that I am a huge fan of is Dr. Lana Wells from my home province of Alberta. She has a program, it's to end domestic violence, so it's called SHIFT. She says perpetrators are made, not born. They are the ones that can be capable of ending the violence. So she's flipping that script, saying those who commit violence can be the ones that stop that violence. Instead of the burden being always on a survivor to escape, report, seek shelter, seek services. These programs she's working on, they're to rewire the brain's tendencies towards denial, suppression, followed by a cycle of rage and violence. After my dad was convicted, he went through 3 rehabilitation programs, and now, decades later, he is a sponsor for other men with addictions and violent tendencies. I know the path to change is not possible for everyone, but bringing them to justice, that can be the way that we rehabilitate some of them and decrease violence. Now, I know there's some of you in the back, you guys are actually really paying attention to me. At this point, my notes say I'm supposed to say for those of you sleeping, but you guys are like amazing. I was gonna point at you, but there's nobody, so thank you so much. Yeah, I was gonna wake you up with this, expecting somebody to be doing this. This is unheard of, right? So listen, even if maybe this doesn't apply to you and you're like, this is not, I'm just here to support Kate and to seem like auction was gonna be fun. But think about, even as you exit here onto University Avenue, your own safety, there is growing evidence, expert consensus, that the private epidemic of the silent violence that's going on in households is actually part of what is fueling societal violence. Now, the causality is obviously complex, multifactorial, but household violence is increasingly understood as a root or foundational form of violence that feeds into overall cycles of aggression and conflict. So when violence is normalized in intimate settings like the home, this can create a template for its wider expression in society. So, for example, in Rwanda, post-genocide, programs that targeted domestic violence and gender-based violence saw overall reductions in interpersonal violence in society. And in Scandinavian countries, they have very strong domestic violence prevention and child protection programs, gender equity. This correlates with overall decreased rates of crime and violence in their society. So I want you to leave here today thinking about how reducing household violence, it's not just a moral and private concern, it's an evidence-backed way to create more peaceful societies. Together, we have the power to make practical changes right now. You've already taken a first step just by being here today, by opening your hearts to survivor stories, to possible solutions. You are part of ending the silence. Through my journey of owning my story, I have come to realize that my identity as somebody who experienced violence is an even stronger identity than being able to say that I'm an emergency physician who saves lives. Thank you for listening, for your ongoing bravery and courage. Together, we will end violence, one ER visit, one household, and one relationship at a time. Thank you.